When you take your car to Meineke, and instead of bringing home a working vehicle, you bring home the shell value and a check because they totaled your car and then denied any hand in it. So at this point, they've had my car for over a month. They've had it since May 16th. I took it in for a clutch and flywheel replacement, which were parts that we knew were going out on the car. So we had it towed down, and they when I got it towed down there, I had asked them to also inspect the engine, the steering and suspension, and the AC systems, because we had just recently purchased the car. I knew that the AC was already bad, and they were going to be all up in there anyways. So that was what I requested. A few days later, they called saying that they got the clutch and flywheel done, but that the car wouldn't start and that they suspected it was the starter. So I'm in the hospital during this time. I can't drive down and get my eyes and hands on the starter or watch them bench test it, which would be the way to diagnose that part. And so I'm having to take them at their word. It is just a starter. And again, I had just bought this car and was wanting to put money into it and make it a good, reliable, long-term car. So we, move forward with the starter. Well, another day or so later, they call back, and this time they're saying that the engine won't start. Your engine is blown, and we're not even sure if the starter was needed. So now I'm losing my trust in these guys because I feel like instead of diagnosing the parts for my car and actually looking at what could be the problem, I feel like they're just throwing parts at my car and taking up my time and money. Um, so at this point, again, I had gotten this car for only $3,000. So I was willing to put money into it if it meant obtaining a reliable vehicle. So at this time, again, still in the hospital and working on being released, we decided to move forward if they could find an engine that had less miles than my current engine. We brought the car in with 180,000 miles. They were able to find an engine with 80,000 miles. So we were like, sweet, why not? Let's do it. And so then we're waiting. There's this waiting period to, of course, have the engine shipped to them. And then for them to start all of that work. So during this time, I'm being released from the hospital. We gave it about 2 weeks before following up after not hearing anything from them. And at that time, they were saying that there were troubles getting to it, that they were going to get to it now. So then we're like, okay, well, I at this point had let them know that I had been diagnosed with cancer during my hospital stay. And that I've been trying to be patient, but that at this point, it's been 2.5 weeks since the initial quote of 2 weeks, and that I'm exhausting my resources to get to and from all these sudden appointments, and that I do really need them to take priority in my car, considering at this point they've had it for about a month. They didn't really care about any of that, and just said, "Yeah, we'll have it done within the next week or so." And sure enough, about a week and a half later, call me on a Monday, the 18th of June, and say, well, when I was taking the car out for the test drive after getting in the replacement engine, the engine blew during the test drive. So at this point, and then they tried to say that it was because the engine that was sent to them was bad. If it was a bad engine that was sent, it likely wouldn't have started in the first place. So to me, the fact that it blew during the test drive is very suspicious, especially after I brought them a car with a running engine. My husband had been able to get the engine to compress and try to turn over before we dropped it off. It was just that without a clutch to engage, it wouldn't do the full engage. So we brought them a car that last we knew the engine was working. That one blew. Now you guys are telling me that the one that you ordered to replace my engine has blown. Now what? So they're like, okay, well, we can get another engine. It's just not going to have as few miles. And so my response was, see what engines you can find. let's see how low of miles. Because at this point, I've lost faith in them. And if we can't find another engine that's going to increase the value and reliability of my car, then I don't want to continue this experience. So I don't hear anything from them. During this same week, I get a notice from my leasing office that my garage is due for an inspection and general maintenance and repair. So my garage opener is in my car at the shop. My husband and I go down Friday morning. This is the same Friday of the week that he called me telling me that they blew the engine during test drive. We go to get into our vehicle and ask, hey, have you found an engine? How many miles does the engine that you found have? My husband's getting into the car while I'm having this conversation. Lo and behold, our car was broken into and attempted to be, well, and let me correct myself. There was no forced entry to the vehicle because it was left unlocked. Somebody tried to take advantage of that and steal the vehicle. In doing so, they shredded the steering column and ignition switch and that whole area there, which I do have the pictures of. I believe I included them in my complaint. So now we're following up about that. And of course, they're half-heartedly apologetic, telling us that they can repair the damage done in their care. But at this point, I'm kind of done. And the damages to my car have totaled the car. And these are components that would affect the engine, the electrical throughout the entire car. Like the damage that was done in that area affects a lot of key components of the vehicle. And I don't trust these people anymore. And the car is totaled now. So at this point, we decided, hey, let's involve insurance. We're going to hold their insurance accountable. Well, their insurance advised them to make a settlement because they insisted it would be best for both Meineke and for us. Because for us, they were only willing to give payout for the totaled value of the car, not the value of the car in an operating condition. And so they're only willing to give us, like $1,200 to $1,500, but that was going to be a huge insurance hit for Meineke. So they advised Meineke to just give us the $1,200 or $1,500. We sell them the car essentially for that value. And then we all part ways. So that's what we're having to do. That means that now, instead of even remotely getting the $3,000 that I spent on the car, I am now negative $1,500 due to my experience with Meineke. During the course of this, in trying to just decide what was going to be the best course of action, do we go through insurance? Do we take the settlement? Do we want them to do the repairs? In the time of trying to make that decision, I have been threatened because I asked them why they weren't looking into my claim, why they weren't looking into all of the details that I was providing. And I was threatened by saying that if I didn't make a decision, that things were just going to get harder and harder for me, is what I was told by the CEO franchise owner. So it's been really ugly. And yeah, that's pretty much where we stand. If my car would not have been broken into due to their negligence and on their property, if things would have proceeded the way they were supposed to, we were looking at spending about $7,800 to have that clutch and flywheel replaced, to have the engine replaced, and to have all those components inspected that I wanted inspected. So had they fulfilled the agreement of exchange that we took our car there for, it would have been $7,800. Currently, because we are taking the settlement, which they knew we would, when it's a car that's not over $10,000, you're looking at civil court. As I said, I just found out I have cancer. So I don't have the means to go to civil court and handle this myself right now, especially because now I also have to find another car and all of these things. So they were banking on that. They were really banking on the fact that, knowing that, like, yeah, I have a case here, but it would be civil and that would be a big headache. And that I don't have the means. They've stripped me of my means. I don't have a car now. As far as the total loss, the value of the car, $3,100. That's what I paid for it. As far as, kind of loss and suffering and all of that, I mean, I would say let's bring that up. And I'm being really generous, to be honest with you. Let's just bring that up to $5,000, right? Maybe six, because I did have to do Lyft and Uber to get to these doctor appointments. I tried not to make that their problem because it ultimately isn't. But with how the care went and how long they've had my car, at this point, those things are intertwined for me. So it's like, yeah, there's the Lyft and Uber costs. There have been times of actually borrowing from family and friends as well, and them being without a car so that I can have one. So yeah, let's say $6,000. The resolution I would like to see, I would have liked to receive the $3,100 for my car, no questions asked, with a sincere apology. That would have been enough to keep me off of your website. That would have been enough to keep me off of Google. That would have been enough to keep me from hating Meineke and cringing when I hear their name from now on. That would have been enough to resolve the situation for me. And that's not what they did. Something else I would like to add, especially if they do watch this video or anything along those lines, add some phone numbers and points of contact, because every customer service phone number, 1-800 phone number, anything along those lines that you can find, both for Meineke and for their parent company, Driven Brands, it rings endlessly or it hangs up on you. You cannot successfully link through to a person. The closest I got, it answered with a prompt, please dial the number of your extension now. I literally sat there calling it over and over, trying different number sequences and different things to see if I could synthesize some sort of extension to get through to somebody. And that didn't even work. So the inability to get a hold of somebody is absolutely insane. As a customer who walked onto their property that Friday morning to see my car in shambles that way, I should have been able to find a phone number and make contact with a person from Meineke right then and there. I had to wait until after business hours that day to finally get a call from somebody who I'm being told is the CEO. But ultimately, because I haven't found this myself, because I haven't called the numbers, how can I really even verify that? I'm literally taking him at his word at this point. So they really need some better, customer service accessibility and transparency. That was really, really shady.